You want to be holding in this week's Torah portion? Of course you do. Here are your Shpark notes. Parashat Pinchas. Now, if you remember from last time, our good buddy Pinchas has just murdered 2 people because he thinks that 2 tribes coming together and 2 people coming together from those tribes is really bad. And as I'm sure you are already assuming, now is the time in our Torah when Pinchas is punished because religious extremist violence is never acceptable. It's not what happens. Yeah, so Pinchas is venerated and somehow even receives an ancestral pact of peace through God for all time. So, pretty problematic. You know, there aren't a ton of people named Pinchas today. There's some, not a lot. Wonder why. Moving on. Hashem tells Moshe and Eleazar, the son of Aaron, he can't tell Aaron anymore because, so he says to them, wow, it has been a whirlwind of death and destruction around here. We should probably see who we've got left. And so they take a census and kind of tidy up all the tribal wills of Am Yisrael. Everything seems in order until 5 women come forward, and they have some serious beef with the system. They say to Moshe, our father died in the wilderness, and he wasn't a rebel like Korach. He wasn't a no-good-nick or an upriser. He just died, and he didn't have any sons. And Moshe says, okay. And then the women respond by saying, okay, well, we're his daughters, and you don't expect us to stand by quietly while our inheritance goes to someone else, do you? We have the right to his inheritance just like a son would. I mean, honestly, these are the people that should be venerated instead of Pinchas. But... okay. I'm letting it go. Promise. Maybe. So Moshe says, wow, that's a really good point. And then he brings the argument to Hashem, who says, wow, that's a really good point. And Moshe's like, right? That's exactly what I said. And they laugh because they're twinning and they realize that they've spent so much time together that they're like, completely in sync. Then Moshe comes back and lets the daughters know that they have successfully argued their case. And that is why Jewish women are the best lawyers. I'm married to one, so I know. Moshe then has a thought and says to Hashem, you told me that you were going to let me die in the wilderness and not pass over into the promised land. And Hashem says, I did say that. This is a little awkward. I probably should have told you later. Moshe says that's probably true, but just thinking this through really quickly, if I'm gone, the Israelites, your chosen people, are still going to need a leader to take them into the promised land. Hashem's like, ooh, yes, that is a very good point. You know what? We're making a lot of changes today. I'm digging this. This is cool. Go grab Yehoshua ben Nun and then come back to me. So then Moshe goes and grabs Joshi Bien. That's my nickname for him. He gets Joshi Bien and he lays his hands on his head and gives him smicha. And I can imagine that he's laying his hands on his kepi and he's blessing him, but then he whispers and he's like, good luck, man. These people are tough. Joshi gulps, nods his head, and accepts his role as the new leader of Am Yisrael. Brave soul, that one. Brave soul. Then Hashem says, Joshi, my man, I'm so glad we're working together. There is a lot of information that you need to know before we get started, so I'm going to spend the rest of the parasha onboarding you. And he does. And the rest of the parasha is a full korbanot schedule. Which animals get sacrificed when, and how, and basically gives Joshi a full calendar of the Jewish holidays, but with no cool pictures, just lots of animal sacrifices. And it's a big deal, which is why we read Parashat Pinchas and holidays and a Rosh Chodesh, and because, sometimes we need the reminder of the calendar too. And that, my friends, is the wild, wild parasha of Parashat Pinchas, which we are now officially renaming Parashat Benot Zelofehad because those women are much more deserving of the title than Pinchas. I didn't let it go. I'm sorry. I'm not letting it go. The rest is commentary. Go and learn.